Hotep, and welcome once again to another edition of Community Cop. My name is Noel Leder, one of the co-founding members of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. I'm here today with a full house. My three co-hosts, first of all, Julian Harper.
Welcome, welcome.
Second of all, Michael Graves, a.k.a. Big Mike.
Namaste.
And of course, the great Father Lucas.
Hotep.
And we'd like to once again welcome you, our viewing audience, to a program which we like to say where truth and real talk occurs. We like to go right into some of the topics of discussion today because there's so much to talk about. First of all, as is customary, we like to reflect on historic individuals and events which occurred and who exist in our community. First, Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. This is the anniversary of his passing. Michael, why don't you remind our audience about this great hero?
Well, he's the first duly elected homegrown indigenous African to be president of Ghana, and certainly we respect that. And also on this day, while we understand this is the day that he passed, this is also the birthday of Hubert Harrison, one of the greatest intellectuals we ever produced in Harlem by way of the Caribbean. A great man, great intellect in his own right, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention those two, Hubert Harrison as well as Kwame Nkrumah, the great Asajifu. All
right, then two events which occurred, which has rippling effects today is, first of all, the L.A. riots, which occurred on 4/29/1992. We call it the L.A. Rebellion, which was the aftermath of a brutal police beating, which was captured on film, where Rodney King was savagely beat by a pack of wolves in uniform. Father, we'll start with you. Your remembrance of the L.A. riots, L.A. Rebellion.
Yeah, and I think what was very interesting was the defense. Are y'all going to believe me or your lying eyes? What it basically boiled down to, so that even when you had this on television, nothing was done with the police officers. And until they are held accountable, until they are go to jail, lose their pension, or have to pay some part of whatever the city has to give, they're going to continue. And so all this crap about training and cameras, that's nonsense.
You know, and it's unfortunate, you know, as Father Lucas just stated, you know, that was probably one of the earliest police beatings that was caught on video where there was no prosecution. And we can look just to Staten Island very recently, where we had another video of a senseless killing of a unarmed black man by the police, where there was no indictment or no criminal charges that stuck relative to the so-called arrest. And there wasn't even an arrest in this case, in the death of our brother. So we really have to remember, just because it's on video doesn't mean that we're going to get justice. You know, we really have to make sure that the people that are put into office, because these are the people who are prosecuting the cases, putting these cases together, people who are sworn to uphold the law, who are doing the investigations, who are doing such a non-professional and I'm being polite, a way of conducting these investigations, which allow these people to go unpunished when they take the lives of our African family members.
Certainly I concur with everything that has been said up to now. I'll just add that there was a state prosecution, and in that state prosecution, Sergeant Kuntz, Stacy Kuntz, and the other police officers in question were all exonerated. And after certainly L.A. was ablaze in the rebellion is when the feds came in. And that, by the way, that was administration under Bush 41, you know, Herbert Walker Bush. And certainly that administration found it necessary to come in and prosecute. And they were successful in the federal prosecution. And those police officers went to jail. As opposed to what you see now, as Julian pointed out, all of these unarmed black men where videotape is catching it, and yet the feds are not doing anything, and we have a black president, and Bush 41 found it, at least in his Justice Department, with Ashcroft and people like that, ultra right wing guys, and yet there was a prosecution.
I was just wondering, I think there was an arrest in the Staten Island thing, the poor guy who took the pictures.
Right.
Yes, true,
Good
true.
point. And the last incident we like to refresh our memory on 4/25/1973, in the community that I grew up in South Jamaica, 10-year-old Clifford Glover was shot in the back by white police officer Thomas Shea, who was allegedly in pursuit of a grown man, a robber, and went on the stand and asked, did he know the difference between a 10-year-old child and a grown man? He said, all I seen was black. And he, of course, was, as these other horrific police shootings, was exonerated and found not guilty by a mostly white jury. And anyone wants to comment on that historic event?
That was the one in New York.
Yeah, in South Jamaica, Queens.
Yeah, and I think the same guy, Shea, got killed chasing a drug dealer to get his money.
All right. Well, fast forward to today. One of the latest horrific acts of police brutality and murder happened in Baltimore, where a young man named Freddie Gray allegedly observed police officers looking at him, became intimidated, and ran. And for no reason whatsoever, the police officer pursued him. Young man winds up having a broken neck, crushed vertebrae in the back, and a severed spinal cord. The spinal cord was severed. They say approximately 80% of it was severed. This, in an incident where the police officers initially documented that there was no combative
Crushed larynx.
Yeah,
Crushed
okay.
larynx.
And crushed larynx. These are the kind of injuries that you see in a horrific high-speed car accident. You know, not when police officers are making arrests of an unarmed, non-violent, an individual to this date wasn't even charged with any criminality. Now, the white media is saying that the police department is alleging that he had a pocket knife. Julian, we'll start with you. We talked about Clifford Glover. We talked about Rodney King. These things happened first in the 70s, one in the 90s. Here we are, 2015. This particular incident, how is it possible for an individual, unarmed, not charged with any crime, and as the pictures that we see that was captured on the film, not violent, suffered such horrific, brutal injuries while in the custody of police officers?
Well, you know, unfortunately, I really can't answer that question. Other than there had to be some very intense physical altercation or an attack, however you want to describe it, on this young man. You know, I can't think about or count how many times I've said that it's going to happen again. And I think after every police shooting and of an unarmed black man or an assault, I always say, well, listen, it's going to happen again. And it's going to happen again. I think that it's very important that we take note on how it's being handled by our elected officials, how it's being handled by the people who are doing the investigations, how it's being handled by the justice system. I mean, there has not been any true justice when you start talking about the systemic racism and the attacks on our community by this justice system, by these police officers, by these police departments. And we're talking nationally. We're not saying that this is something that's only occurring in Baltimore, it's only occurring in New York, or it's only occurring in LA. I mean, this is happening nationally. And this is not an anomaly. This isn't something new. This has been going on for years. Now that we have the videotapes and people have video cameras and people have cell phones and they can capture it on video and they can put it on YouTube, and now it's getting out nationally. Now people are trying to or starting to respond. But I think it's very important that we pay attention to what happens to these officers, what's happening to these departments, what's happening to these municipalities that are allowing these things to happen in our community.
Right, and Father Julian brings up a good point, because the Justice Department investigated the city of Ferguson and found out there was outright irregularities and criminal acts being conducted by the police, by the district attorney's office, and by judges against members of the African American community. And in this incident in Baltimore, we have an individual suffering some of the most grotesque injuries imaginable. And, you know, one of the responsibilities all of us know as a police officer, when you have an injured prisoner, the first thing you're supposed to do is get him medical treatment. These police officers went on a tour before they even delivered him first to the precinct and then to the hospital. When you look at the video, you can tell he's injured. No, you know, in many of these videos, we see such callous response by police officers whose primary responsibility is supposed to be the preservation of life. Father, what are some of your thoughts on, you know, the video that Julian talked about that we've all seen?
He was attacked by wild animals. I think Julian mentioned some interesting thing about our elected officials. You almost had to say, what a bunch. Great liberal and progressive mayor. He congratulated the mayor and the police in Baltimore for how they handled the uprising. Then our beloved president said that these folks who rioted should be treated as criminals because that's what they are. But he forgot the other side of the coin, that the killer cops are not treated as criminals. So I guess that slipped his mind, that, that you want to call them criminals. He said they were not even protesting, they were looting. Now that brings back memories. I don't know if both of you were on the force during the 65 after Martin Luther King, but I was chairperson public safety for Board 10, and a great deal of the looting was being done by the police who were keeping the, quote, looters in check. I could remember them taking, and I asked them, are you going to take this to the station house? They went into Roy Campanella's liquor store that was there, and was boxes and boxes of liquor was being put in their patrol cars. I guess for safekeeping.
Well, it's amazing that, Julian has said this for a few years now, that it's going to happen again. And every time we think we've seen enough, he's right when he says it's going to happen again.
Of course.
Now, you have a situation where there has been, like last year, $5.7 million awarded to people over complaints over the last couple of years in Baltimore, yet there is no record of it. So how can you have $5.7 million given out and yet no record of discipline? All of those officers' records are clean, and yet the city is dishing out money. So these are obviously settlements where it didn't go to trial, and yet when you do a real investigation, they can't explain why. They was asked, what are the records of these officers? These officers are now brass. They are now sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. And they've gone through over the years, all of their records are all clean. And Baltimore can't explain that. Now that's racketeering. That's the same as Ferguson. All these things, and you have a clean record, something's wrong there. So the Justice Department is just really full of it when you consider they're doing an investigation. What are they going to investigate? Are they going to investigate real racketeering? Are they going to look at all these trumped up charges? Are they really going to investigate the district attorney's office? Are they really going to investigate the grand jury system? What are they really going to investigate? I'm tired of it, of Obama being able to get on TV and say, I've sent the Justice Department to do an investigation. We're monitoring things. I mean, look, that worked a few years ago. That worked 6 years ago. It's not working anymore now. So I'm fed up with, I'm really fed up with hearing that they're going to do an investigation. They're not going to do an investigation. I could care less about Loretta Lynch coming in or Eric Holder leaving, because they are an embarrassment. When you look at what has happened here in New York under her leadership, in Brooklyn, Kyle Coppin,
Omar Edwards.
Well, yeah, Omar Edwards was in Manhattan, but I'm just saying in the Eastern District, you had Kamani Gray and so many other cases. You had Sean Bell,
Timothy
all
Edwards.
These things under who?
Timothy Stansbury.
Stansbury, all of these things under her leadership, and she did absolutely nothing. And these were outright murders in plain sight, and she did nothing. So now she has the highest law enforcement position in the country. What is she going to do? What did Eric Holder do? So I'm just saying in that sense that I'm fed up with them, and I have little to no hope that the Justice Department is going to do anything to the Baltimore Police Department. They're not going to do anything to Ferguson. They're not going to do it to anything because they all are white supremacists. And those are the words that I did not hear yesterday, last night, or this morning on CNN or MSNBC, any of them. They didn't talk about the whole situation of white supremacy, and that's what we're dealing with.
You know, I hate to say it, and probably folks going to want to kill me, but I think we're making a mistake thinking that any of these things are going to be solved by the so-called justice system. It's going to be solved in the streets, that the folks are going to have to take to the streets, and not necessarily like in Baltimore or Ferguson. That's part of the picture. But I think we're going to have to start holding these police officers accountable once they're identified and take care of business ourselves. And I won't elucidate on that.
You know,
Biggie said bad boys move in silence.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I listened to Mike, and I have to agree with him. When you start talking about these officers who start out as police officers, and at some point, if the conditions or the issues aren't addressed, and these guys are not just punished, you know, some of the things that these guys do, they need to be removed from the police department. I always say every police officer shouldn't be a police officer. Just because you can pass the test and you can pass the physical qualifications that are needed to become a police officer doesn't mean that you have the spirit, the attitude, the mentality, the temperament to be a police officer. So every police officer shouldn't be a police officer. But what happens is when they allow these people to continue through the ranks of the police department, these people become chiefs. They become chiefs that are in policy-making positions now. Chiefs that can decide whether someone keeps his job, whether someone loses his job. Chiefs that decide whether there's going to be a thorough investigation in this case. Chiefs who decide which direction the case may go. So, you know, when they're allowed to continue their employment, their positions in the police department, it is a detriment to our entire society. So, you know, we have to really look at the entire administration. And that goes along with the justice system as well. You know, these people are in position, and as Mike stated, they are in a position to ensure that white supremacy continues, stays strong, and is in full effect. And until we make sure that from the beginning, from the zygote, from the lower stages, that we address the people who are not in a position to do the best that is needed for our community are removed, we're going to be subjected to them when they get into positions of real power.
And Julian, you know, although I do agree with you, you know, the problem is it's a system of white supremacy. I don't care who's in control. In Baltimore, they have a black mayor. I think they have a Latino or black police commissioner. They are controlled or dominated or influenced by the system. The system is designed to oppress, incarcerate, to monitor the African American community. That's what the basically law enforcement is there to do, as well as the other systems. You know, it's to dominate. You know, the entertainment system is to exploit, to give false messages about African Americans, to belittle African Americans, to put in the minds of people, not only in this country, but throughout the world, because, you know, a lot of people look at American entertainment. The economic system is designed to disenfranchise the African American community, make sure for the most part we remain poor. You know, the educational system, you know, so I don't care who. And we do need individuals in proper place, because Julian, you know, so, you know, we're saying the same thing.
Right.
Because in spite of that, we still, because there's going to be police officers, so we need to have people who have our interests in heart. But African American community, we have to understand this American system. Every fraction of the society, as we always talk about, entertainment, economic, education, law, labor, is designed to oppress black people. And all you have to do is look at the last few incidents, and we're going to get to everybody, last few incidents, and look at the results. Look at the criminal justice system, how black men are being incarcerated by the hundreds of thousands, and they can't find jobs in the street, but they can go to a facility and get a job getting paid 25 cents an hour.
Right.
You know, all these white corporations have contracts with these institutions, criminal justice institutions, where black men can't find jobs when they out by these same corporations. But it's a design, brothers and sisters. We have to open up our eyes to see what America is doing, has done to African Americans. Father first, and then Mike.
Well, no, all I want to say, in the white communities, they're police officers. In our communities, they're overseers. And that's what their job is.
Well, I think they're pulling out all stops now. You know, they have an intelligence division, They have public relations, and everything is working right now. Right now, they're putting out a claim to get, as what Noel said to me, as sympathy. They're claiming that the three major gangs that are there, you know, the Black Guerrilla Family, the Bloods and the Crips, are all united with some devious plan to kill cops. And the fact of the matter is, they were all together yesterday, but they were all together hugging. And one thing about white supremacists, the same way on the plantation, they could not stand to see enslaved Africans whisper to one another or to say something. The overseer wanted to know what they were talking about, or if you gathered after work anywhere, they always want to know what topics are being discussed. This is what happened yesterday. They saw Bloods, Crips, and the Black Guerrilla Family together, and since they wasn't shooting at each other, stabbing or punching each other, they assumed that they're trying to do something to the white man. And I'm glad to see that those brothers are smart and intelligent. They went on Baltimore TV. They've gone on several networks to state emphatically that they love the community. They want justice for Freddie Gray, and that by no means are they talking about doing anything to police officers, because police officers want to do a preemptive strike on them. They probably have wanted to do it for a while, and they use that image of all them giving each other five and hugging each other as an excuse to do that. So I'm glad those brothers saw that in advance and went on TV and made their positions clear that they are not trying to harm the black community. They're not trying to harm any police officers, but they do want justice for Freddie Gray.
Noel, I agree with your statement earlier about it being systemic, and that it's white supremacy. But what I find problematic sometimes is that we remove the cynicism, the criminality from the people. Mm-hmm. So if we take it away from the people that are in position, as the police department does, they'll say, listen, well, you can sue the department. But the person who made the decision and allowed for the ills and the assaults and the criminality that occur in our community is never held accountable, because he says it was the system. So I concur with you. It is systemic. We have to deal with an operation that exists within the system. But with that, we also have to hold the person who is making the decision, the people who are receiving the healthy pensions from our community, from our tax dollars, we have to hold them accountable as well. So I think it's two-pronged. We have to look at a system that's failing us, and we have to allow those people who are helping that system to operate, that's keeping continuously fueling it, we have to hold them accountable as well. So we are saying the same thing.
Right. And for those who we see some incidents, for those who question, some of the comments that I made and think they're too harsh, I mean, we have evidence, documented evidence. There was congressional black hearings that talked about during the Reagan era how the government was involved in the crack cocaine conspiracy, how they allowed crack cocaine into this country. What's the military guy's name?
Oliver North.
Oliver North.
Yeah.
It's a documented fact that this government was involved in the crack cocaine.
To go against the
right,
Sandinistas.
And some people, I believe some people made money over here as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
The Covert War in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
It's a documented fact that within these police organizations, in Rampart Police Department, where corruption was festering for years, where hundreds of individuals were falsely arrested, even in Baltimore, Maryland. The NAACP recently sued the police department, and the government admitted at least 20 to 30% of the arrests, because they had this thing where the police just jump out and scoop up people like they do in New York. And they admitted that 20 to 30% of the arrests were false arrests. That's a lot of people. In New York City, where you have 650,000 stops, the overwhelming majority of them are innocent. These are institutions which are there to exploit and to oppress the African American community. If we don't open up our eyes to see it, it shouldn't even be debatable. Right. So my words may seem to be harsh, but this is reality. This is what's actually going on.
And if we don't hold the system and the individuals that are allowing this to happen, it's going to perpetuate. It's going to continue to happen.
It's interesting you mentioned Oliver North, and one of the biggest drug kingpins in the country, and he never went to jail for drugs.
Exactly.
Well, the fact is, I think that I have to be a little more specific relative to elected officials. Here today, you have first Blake, Mayor Blake. She should be ashamed of herself. She hid for 5 or 6 days, I think 5 days. She hid for 5 days, and when she appeared in public with her black police commissioner, she had the temerity to say is that something went wrong in the system, and we don't have answers right now. I wish I could tell you more, but at this time I can't. 5 days? If you can't do it 5 days, and this man has been, was arrested on the 12th, you know, I mean, that's several weeks ago, and you don't have any answers now, and you have the temerity to get in front of black people and just say something went wrong? Now, would Jewish people accept something like that's silly? You don't have any answers? Then why are you even in public? Why you even came in public? Because you think a shallow skin analysis, your black skin is going to get you over, and to be standing next to a black police commissioner is going to get you over? That's why people did what they did. Because when you finally appeared, you gave them nothing. The same thing that Obama does. You give the black people nothing. Now you have Elijah Cummings, former majority whip of the Congress. He gets in front of black people and say the same thing she said. She referred to people as thugs. Those black women who went in stores, I saw them come out of them stores with food. You ain't no thug if you coming out of a store with food. You called the people in Hurricane Katrina, what's that term they use?
We'll get it.
Refugees. Those black women were getting food. People weren't getting 60-inch TVs. They went in those stores and got food. People are starving. They got babies to feed at home. How dare you call them looters and call them thugs? Elijah Cummings, did you call the white people that spit in your face a few years from the Tea Party, did you call them thugs? When they spit in your damn face? You little damn coward. You gonna call them thugs, and they spit in your face, and you said we gonna pray for them. They don't know what they doing. They knew full well what they were doing when they spit in your cowardly face. Because some black folks need to spit in your face right now. Majority whip and the Tea Party just spit right in your face. And you wiped it off like a little damn coward and kept walking. You could have got the Capitol Police to arrest them. You didn't do anything. And you're going to call black women thugs and looters. Should be ashamed of your damn self. And the last one is Obama. He called the people thugs. Here, did you refer to the cops who killed Freddie Gray as a thug? Did the mayor who called black people thugs, did she refer to those 6 cops as thugs?
The ones that, wait a minute, you talk about the ones that crushed his brother's neck, that detached 80% of his spinal cord, that crushed his larynx?
And she ain't called him a thug, and Elijah Cummings, you ain't called them thugs, but thugs is a term that's reserved for black people. White people can't be thugs. White people can't be terrorists. That's why they can fly into federal buildings with planes. That's why they can do all kind of nonsense and get a pass on everything. But yet black folks, anything we do after all these years in this country, that's mild what we did. Nobody got killed yesterday. They didn't kill nobody. Okay. All these white reporters running all night long. They ain't touched none of them.
Hey. Okay, go ahead, Father.
I'm just surprised that Mike could sit here and criticize Mayor Blake when our beloved liberal progressive mayors congratulated her for what she did.
Well, white folks are supposed to graduate. When you uphold and undergird white supremacy, you will be congratulated. They all call black people thugs. It's mandatory. Fox has been saying we want to hear the word thug more, and so they all calling black folks thugs. But what are white people that steal countries, that steal oil fields, that steal gold mines? What are they? Do you call people on Wall Street thugs that start wars? Do you call a president that's sending predatory drones, killing black folks all over the world, and bragged about killing a so-called Somali pirate who was only defending his waters? Did you call any of them thugs? Right. Obama?
And then, look, you know, when you talk about the Justice Department, we recently talk about, I know in my family, how the Justice Department have found out that HSBC was laundering money for drug dealers for years, and not one person was arrested. So when they use the term thuggery, or when they talk about criminals, I mean, some of the greatest criminals, as you stated, when you talk about looting, this country, American corporations are, as we speak, looting the entire planet, murdering people all over the planet, assassinating individuals, stealing natural resources, thievery, burglary, robbery, larceny. Any of these crimes, destroying governments
Genocide.
is being conducted. So the solution,
And heads of state.
African American community in Baltimore, in New York, in Ferguson, we have to understand what we're dealing with. The greatest form of injustice on this planet is white supremacy. We must organize. That is the only solution. Our failure to organize, our failure to be able to develop enough strength to stop these white supremacists from what they're doing to us is why they do it, because they have the power to do it. We haven't stopped them because we haven't manifested or developed or organized the power to stop them. That's what it's going to take for us to stop what's going on.
Let me just say one thing very quickly.
Brother, you can say 10 things.
No, this is going to be real quick.
This is old Hawk
if the mayor said, listen, I want answers tomorrow.
Exactly.
I want answers tomorrow. To her police commissioner, trust me, they will have answers. This investigation is not going to take months, years to find out, just on a cursory level, what happened.
Right.
Trust me. She can say, listen, I want to know what happened. I want to report on my desk tomorrow.
Exactly.
Trust me, it'll be done.
Because Arthur, you did it. You was elected. You was a boss.
Exactly. Listen, I want the answer tomorrow.
Exactly. Now, we're not talking about conducting a prosecution tomorrow.
Exactly.
Preparing the case tomorrow.
Exactly.
But you have a preliminary report. What happened? Why did he die? What are the officers involved? That can take place in hours.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. We had a couple of other things we wanted to talk about, but
Yes.
we have time for our calls. Julian is pointing to our phone calls. First caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
How you doing? I'm calling from Queens. This is Keisha's uncle. My
Okay.
name's You're a powerful man, man. They're afraid of you. BLS, we don't own BLS no more. White people own that BLS.
We don't own nothing, brother.
Full of niggas and Negroes. So we locked out. Also, that mayor in Baltimore, I don't know how she call my people thugs when they're angry for the oppression that has been inflicted on them while she's in office. And that's why I said before, most of us, we promote white supremacists on our own people. And we got to push them aside and get rid of them. We have to, because we can't move forward with them in the front of us because they're holding us back.
Right. All right. Excellent point, brother. And my thing, if the mayor wants to use terminology about the individuals who are rebelling in the streets, at least have some criticism for the police officers. I mean, that's the cause of all of this. And there's no criticism from white media, and don't just say media, primetime media, mainstream media, it's white media or the mayor. But next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Hotep.
Hotep, how y'all doing?
Where you calling from, sister?
Tab from Brooklyn.
Okay, quick question and comment.
Okay. Well, my quick question, or my comment rather, is when Mike said about the president, and he using the thug word, but maybe the president might want to have a beer with these guys who killed that brother. That's what he did before. I know it should be joking about stuff like that, but the more serious side of this thing is that those young people are responding and reacting to what y'all just said, powerlessness. And those of us who are older, the older people in that community, old men are not being shot down and killed by the police. Older women are not being shot down and killed by the police for the most part. And I say that in our community, it's not happening. It is the young people who this is happening to. So therefore, they have the right to respond the way they respond because we're not protecting them. So if this is what they do, and they're not killing anybody, nobody got killed out of it, but that's just their emotions are getting the best of them, then let it be. Let it be. That's what I say.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your call. I was taught in school that Patrick Henry said, give me liberty or give me death. That's what my teachers taught me. And they herald that individual for making that statement. But next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Salam alaikum, brothers. How y'all doing today? It's great.
Hotep, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. First of all, brother, let's not get off the issue. These crackers is killing our people day and night, every day of the year for 500 years. First of all, Chris Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's son had the nerve to try to make it seem like black people is thieves and thugs also. If you listen to CNN, they're talking down to make it look like the people out there that's doing what they're doing, they are responsible for it. But they don't talk about the devils who keep killing our people. First of all, Eric Holder and Obama need to be ashamed of this stuff, and y'all was right on the point. We got to go to the streets, brother. We need to sit down, bring our people together, and come up with some solutions rather than keep talking. Because these crackers don't keep doing the same thing until we realize that we got to take a life for a life. Y'all brothers, be well and keep doing the great job that y'all doing.
All right, thank you for your phone call.
Okay.
Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Call from Harlem.
Hotep, brother, quick question or comment?
Yeah, first of all, the good sister that was making it sound like they basically gunning after young folks, I think she need to look up Eleanor Bumpers and whatnot.
But
You
she
know
said,
what
she
I'm
said,
saying?
she said primarily, not exclusively.
All right, my bad. I'm not trying to get at the sister.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I just want to say that, like I've been watching the coverage and whatnot, and I know how the television works because, y'all brothers can be out there, the camera could get at y'all could drop mad jewels about the situation, and then they find this one Negro that's willing to, throw off on looters and so on and so forth, and they'll focus on him and whatnot. But then, you got these so-called elected officials that these misleading Negroes and whatnot that they want to appease their white donors and so on and so forth. And they're so, they lament CVS more so than they lament the loss of Freddie Gray and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, black folks need to, study of what they're about to say before they open their mouth. It doesn't hurt to say no comment if you ain't got your thing together and whatnot. But don't just open your mouth. And, I'm getting tired of these so-called these Negroes that always want to make it like, yo, I'm not about that. You know what I'm saying? I think we've marched enough and whatnot. I think we've sang enough hymns. I think we've lit enough candles. I mean, these fires are burning just as hot as the tears that run down these grieving mothers' cheeks and whatnot. Yo, power to the people.
All right, excellent question. I think Malcolm said, we do enough singing and not enough swinging. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Manhattan. Hotep, brother.
Hotep, sister.
Hotep.
Again, I keep saying the only solution is economic. And if we don't believe that, just look at what the gay community did in Indiana and
That's
Arkansas
right.
recently with that Religious Freedom Restoration Act. They didn't just threaten economically to shut those two states down. Everybody in those two states understood that they were not just selling wolf tickets, that they would do it. But unfortunately, our elected officials, our selected officials, you put them in a room and the white power system says, look, how much do you want for this to go away? And whatever it is, we'll pay it. Just for it to go away. Until we respect ourselves and say, look, shut every business down for 1 week, nothing will happen because every business, Walmart in Arkansas, said to the governor of Arkansas, this is not good business. In Ohio, conservative Ohio, they have changed their position
Right.
on gay marriage.
You're right.
For the exact same reason, because Procter & Gamble said, this is not good for business. So what are we about?
Sister, could I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How come your so-called black civil rights leaders won't call for national economic, or not even a local
Well, funny you should ask that, because just this past Sunday, I'm the one that calls in Reverend Sharpton all the time, and I asked him that very question, and I knew he was going to tell me why it wasn't going to be successful. And I said to him, again, look at what the gay community has been able to do. And if they can do it, we
Right.
can do it.
And Reverend Sharpton,
Otherwise, just shut up and we just sit down and accept our fate.
and Reverend Sharpton know that economic sanctions are very successful. Nations,
Again,
when they
he
have-
would not. He said
Right.
it wouldn't work, and
Right.
I said it would.
Reverend
Well,
Sharpton is
successful
in
for
the
whom?
Reverend Sharpton is in the pocket of corporate America. That's why they
Yeah.
won't call for economic sanctions.
Right.
The Jacksons, the Sharptons, the guy for the NAACP, all of these individuals have accepted their 30 pieces of silver from corporate America, and they will not call for economic boycotts.
Well, it's no doubt about it. It's not an accident that he's being sent down there now today by corporate America to cool it out. He's a gatekeeper, no doubt about it, a Trojan horse, and he's been sent now to try to bring calm to a situation that should not be calm. I'm not advocating everything that happened, but I know why it happened, and if everybody goes home tomorrow and stays in their house from then on, that the Freddie Gray's family will not get justice. And that's been proven time after time that if the people are not vigilant, obsessive, and just as pernicious as those 6 police officers was, and then you won't get what you want to get, which is justice. Because the FBI's profile on black people is that they're emotional, and that if you just sit and wait a while, let them march for a while, they'll all go home.
I just can't figure out why we feel that we have to look to those jokers to call for an economic boycott.
I agree.
We have so many organizations, so many groups. We have folks flocking to churches to hear stuff. And we can do it on our own. We don't have to wait for sellouts like Sharpton, Jackson, Flaky Floyd and those folks, Calvin. But we don't need them.
Right.
But we've been so programmed that we need these kind of misleaders in order to get something started.
All Maddox call them leading blacks. Maybe that's something we need to talk about with some organizations that we're closely associated with, target some individuals for economic sanctions, because it's long overdue. And great point, Father Lucas. But next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Queens.
Okay, Hotep, brother.
Hotep. Listen, what about a class action lawsuit by the people against this oppression that we're going through, and get the great reinstate automatics to be the lawyer? And I respect you, brothers, and I just a comment. I respect you, brothers, and Father Lucas, take care of that chest cold before it turns into walking pneumonia.
Thank you.
brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
And there's organizations that are actively trying to pursue things like reparations and abuse against African Americans in world court.
I respect you, brothers.
Oh, okay, brother. Welcome. Where you calling from, brother?
This is Brooklyn, Ray Ray, brother Ray Ray.
Okay, quick question, comment. Turn your TV down. Turn your TV down, Ray Ray.
I want to ask the question. I hope that the Bloods and the Crips could keep that union going, because they are one of the main drug dealing gangs down in Baltimore, with all them drugs going on down there. Number 2, how many of these paid demonstrators you think were down there during the riots? Because it sure looked like the same scenario where all these paid people come down there. And number 3, do you think America will ever be able to control the organization that they created? It seems like they are unable to stop the police force for doing what they want to do.
All right.
Well,
Thank you for your phone call, brother.
I think the real question is, do they want to stop?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing you got to remember, first of all, drug dealing is a side issue. That's not what's central to this conflict, the drug dealing. And if you want to talk about drug dealing, you have to remember that intelligence gathering organizations like the CIA gave Freeway Ricky Ross, I think that's his name,
Ricky Ross,
gave him hundreds of millions of dollars worth of drug at such a cut rate that he became a millionaire overnight. So they have something to do with the drugs. In terms of America can't control its police department, America can control the police department overnight if it wanted to. There's not one police department that America can bring to its knees if it wanted to. It can do it overnight. Even Governor Cuomo can bring the NYPD to its knees if he wanted to. As I said last week, America, the federal government, all of these reigning governors, they do not have a problem with how police departments patrol black communities. They never have, and they never will. The black community is going to have to decide what it's going to do about how it's being patrolled. That will never be done by governors. That will never be done by anybody sitting in the White House. That will never be done by the Congress. They don't care. As a matter of fact, they like it. Corporate America likes the way black people are under control. If you're talking about this present concept of broken window comes out of conservative think tanks where they teach you how to control black people. If you study it, the broken windows, you see that it's a concept to control black people's entire life. All those areas that Noel talked about, those 9 various areas, they got it all broken down to control black life from start to finish.
It's very interesting that the U.S. billions of dollars going to Mexico for so-called fight against the drug lords. And of course, the DEA down there just got caught that many of their agents are going to parties, enjoying prostitutes, and the bill is being paid by major drug dealers in Mexico.
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hotep, brothers. I'm calling from Harlem.
Hotep.
I had a lot to say, but it seems like while I was waiting on hold, I just have to say that basically I heard everybody touch on everything I wanted to say, besides a couple of things. First of all, you keep treating minority people like animals. They're gonna react like animals. You cannot keep an animal caged but so long before somebody reacts. And I'm not saying we're animals, but that's how they describe us. Two, I was up in the Bronx the other day, and they're talking about these quality of life crimes and the broken windows, and I've always touched on this. I believe in the broken windows theory, too. When it comes to policing, when you allow a cop to lie on somebody, when it comes to misdemeanor crimes and summonses, and then they continually stay on the police force when you know they've lied, what happens is you've got the broken windows theory there, too. If you correct it then, they won't be able to come, these cops that get people 15 to life, 25 to life. I was on the platform at 161st in Yankee Stadium. I watched as all these white people walk past, cop after cop, with open containers of alcohol on the train platform. Not near one cop said a damn thing to them with their Yankees or Mets jerseys on because it doesn't affect them. Had that been the residents of the Bronx, the black and brown people, they would have knocked you in your head, handcuffed you, took you and hauled you off to jail, and did something diabolical. We need to stop burning down our own communities and show them what it is to live in fear for their communities. God bless.
Okay, thank you for your call, brother.
I just want to comment when he speaks about broken windows. He made some good points, but he got to realize that broken windows is just a euphemism for stop and frisk.
Right. No, but he meant broken windows on police.
Yeah.
Like flip it, making broken windows on cops. If they took care of the little things that cops do wrong, you know.
Just talking
so he was trying to flip it. Right.
Yeah, they're not
concept.
even talking about the big things they do.
Okay, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hotep.
Where you calling from, caller?
I'm calling from Harlem.
Quick question.
Real quick.
Hotep.
I want to say what up. Noah Leader, Father Lucas, Michael Graves,
Oh.
William Harper. I'll be real quick. First of all, I want to say I think that that brother, the brother was killed. I think he was really beaten up before he was put into the transport van to the point of no return. And I got a question too, and I also want to point on something that Brother Ray said. I really respect what he said because what he said was poignant. I understand, Michael Graves, that drugs are being divvied out by DEA and the FBI, CIA, and the NSA and the government, but we have to take some responsibility. These brothers and sisters don't have to sell these drugs. We have to take some type of responsibility. And my question to you is, what is your prediction on Loretta Lynch? Hotep, reinstate automatics, be well.
All right, thank you for your phone call.
Well, I've already said that Loretta Lynch serves white supremacy. She will not put these road cops in jail. And again, to talk about drugs right now and any particular gang is a diversion from the facts and what we have right now. This is a diversion. Somebody's going to sell drugs there until we can remove that scourge and that need to have those things and to teach our people correctly. Drugs are going to be sold. So to put that onus on those two groups is to give the police more latitude to do what they want to do to those groups, where those groups could turn and change and be defenders of our community.
I'm not in the prediction business, but if you want to predict something about Loretta Lynch, then just look at her record.
Right, nothing. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Where you calling from?
This is Sister Niger from Brooklyn.
Okay,
I'm
Hotep.
listening to your program very carefully. I don't even know how this drug thing got in here because we're not talking about drugs.
Right.
We're talking about the system. Well, the system are the police officers. They represent the system.
That's
They're
right.
not individual police. They represent a system. Loretta Lynch represents a system. We have to understand there's a system analysis that we have to look at, all right? One of the other things that we talked about, when I listened to you talked about Obama, he's the president now, but we all know there's a presidential election that's soon coming. And we all know that Hillary, was that a Freudian slip? Well, anyway, Hillary and her likes are like too many of the rest of them and their likes. when you talked about us as a people, I think we need to really look at, and really look at. We've been on this Democratic plantation for a long time. Black folks in Baltimore, black folks in Missouri, black folks in New York. We really need to get together and say, guess what? If these politicians and these political parties are not representing us, let's have a mass exodus. Let's get off these political plantations. You know, one of the things that Sumner told black folks, don't join the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Blacks need to organize and have their own party.
That's right.
And right now, we got billionaires, we got artists, we got athletes, we got all types of people. But you know what we don't have? We don't have our own political party. If we're going to catch hell, let's catch hell together and stop helping them raise hell on us.
Right. Okay,
That's
sister.
all I like to say.
Excellent point. And don't forget, the last election, Michael Graves ran under a black political party, which is called the Freedom Party, and that needs to be resurrected because, as you stated, that's the solution. Independent black political party. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
This is the poet that used to call in some time ago.
Oh, okay.
Where you calling from, brother?
I'm calling from Harlem. I used to call in and read the poetry.
Yes, sir.
some time
Hotep,
ago.
brother. Hotep.
And I just wanted to say, I'm encouraged by everything that's being said, and I just want to remind people that this country has basically clipped our wings and got upset over the fact that we cannot fly. I'll listen to your comments over the phone.
Okay, excellent point, brother. Excellent point. You said it all. Thank you. Next time you have to bless us with a poem too, brother. That's what I thought you was going to do. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Where you calling from, caller?
Harlem.
Hotep.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my brother. Now, check this out, brother. If I kidnap you, right? Steal you, sell you, enslave you, lynch you, castrate you, rape your great-great-great-grandmothers, do all kinds of brutal things to you, and then you know what I'm going to do? I am going to add insult to injury, and I'm going to blame you and call you the savage, the beast, criminals, and thieves. Me, who did these things to you, I'm the good guy. I didn't do nothing to nobody. I didn't enslave nobody. The people who I enslaved and brutalized and castrated and raped, they are the bad people. They are the savages. They are the beasts. This is what I will always do. I will always control the narrative and blame the victim. This is what I do, and this is what I will continue to do. I was listening to the radio last night on Art Bell, it's Coast to Coast. He was talking about it. He had this white guy on it, right? And the white guy said that the black guys, the writers, they are terrorists. If they are the terrorists, then what the hell is the cop that beat and killed the man, the black guy? What the hell is he?
All right, excellent point, brother.
He's a good guy. He's a damn angel.
We got a lot of callers, brother. Excellent point that you make, though. Thank you. Excellent point. Thank you for your call. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Boycott, boycott, boycott.
Where you calling from, caller?
Queens.
All right, boycott, boycott, boycott. We're going to talk about that this week.
Thank you. Do so. Please do so.
All right, thank you for your call, caller. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Harlem.
Hotep, sister.
Okay, listen to me, people. You see what they did to Trayvon. You see what they've done to everybody else. When are we going to shut it down? Let's go on strike and shut this country down. Shut them down and they'll stop killing your kids. Keep your money in your pocket. Only buy food and water. Let's do it. Let's do it now.
Excellent point, sister. Thank you.
Right.
All right, caller, last caller. Where you calling from, caller?
Brooklyn.
All right, quick question, comment. We want it down.
Brooklyn.
Go ahead, brother.
Brooklyn.
All right, next caller. Get rid of that one. Last
I
caller.
say the same thing. Keep your money in your pocket every damn penny.
All right, excellent caller. Thank you, brother. Everybody's calling for economic boycott. Next caller, last caller. Where you calling from?
Yes, sir. Calling from Harlem. Thank you.
Quick question. We wind it down. Seconds left.
I want people to pay attention. Baltimore is one of those places that tried to incorporate the broken windows theory after modeling after was Giuliani and what was going on in New York. And they had the nerve to boast about arresting 100,000 people in 1 year with a population of 600,000. At one time they were arresting 10,000 people per
per month
Right.
for minor
Brother.
BS crimes. That's what happens when you got right-wing
Right.
theoreticians taking over
And
your
brother,
stuff.
and brother, it's not only crimes. Don't let them talk about crimes. Many of these are violations. They're not even criminal acts. They're violations. But white supremacy in the law enforcement field in this country is run amok. But Julian, closing comments.
Listen, organize, organize, organize. Mom, dad, sis, I love you. Harper family, Leader family, nothing but love. We got a lot of work to do, family.
Tomorrow night, Trust Graham, United African Movement, 1061 Atlantic Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, between Claxton and Franklin, reinstate automatics.
Never forget your God-given right to self-defense.
That's right. Self-preservation being the first law of nature. On behalf of Community Cop, we'd like to thank our producers, Nat Woods, Veronica Kitt, Sheila Berry. Nat is a little under. Hope you feel better, brother. We always think of you, always miss you. Little more, I love you. We'd like to thank you, our viewing audience, for all their phone calls. Those who couldn't get in, we might ask some of our frequent callers to let some of our new callers get in, because the phone line is always filled to capacity, and there's a lot of people that want to get on but can't. But we thank you for your calls. Speak to us on Facebook, Community Cop on Facebook. Give us some of your suggestions. Knowledge is power. Boycott, that's what they're calling for, people. They're calling for boycott. They're calling for independent black political parties. White supremacy is a great form of injustice on the planet. It needs to be eradicated by every African American as long as you take breath on this planet. One of the primary things, apart from taking care of your family and yourself, is to make certain that we combat this great evil that's pervasive. It's in Africa, it's everywhere,
Global.
And when they talk about liberty, I think we finished. See you next Tuesday. Peace.